Hi, Patrice here. I'm sleepy and annoyed. I'm I was having a conversation with somebody that got me to thinking about other issues. So the gist of the conversation, I think I mentioned in another video how people tend to speak out of turn when with people that they really don't want to sever their connection with, but in the moment they just say whatever, and it's just such an immature way to live. Um, Frankly, right now I think my dad Russ, he he and I have had this conversation before, and I realize I'm saying this in a public forum now, but I remember telling him how it really gets on my nerves to be self-aware and to be one who is thinking about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, in order to convey a message clearly and like diplomatically, and more importantly to keep the connection, because it's not about me being right. It's about wanting to maybe clear the air, if that's the case, and keep the connection. And people lose sight of that all too often, and it's frankly it's because of a lack of maturity. And in this moment, again, I'm annoyed by that. So many people in the like this whole thing of keeping it real, or I'm trying to think of some other stupid thing people say to make it okay for them to say whatever is on their mind. That's is stupid, okay? So because words, you can't take them back. I was thinking about sometimes that, like, one time with my mother, I remember her someone had gotten pregnant and they weren't married, and the situation wasn't the best kind of situation. And I remember my mother was going off fussing about how, there's so much out there today as far as birth control, and there's no reason anybody should be popping up pregnant these days, and unless they just want to, and just saying all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, who does this woman think she's talking to? Because first of all, I have no room to speak. And this is what I said to her. I said, you know what? I have no room to talk, because yes, I'm married now with my 5 children, but my first was born, conceived and born out of wedlock. My husband, I said, I put a T on that. Anyway, anyway, I have no room to talk because, again, my firstborn was born out of wedlock. So I'm not going to sit here and join you in bashing this other person because they did the same thing that I did. And then again, who do you think you're talking to? I am your one and only child who was conceived and born out of wedlock. But I didn't say any of those things because why? Why say it? Like, what would it have helped? What would I have gained? She knows her situation. Whether she's willing to face it is a whole nother thing. And that's her journey. That's not my business, but I was willing to face up to my own stuff and say, you know what? I'm not willing to join in on this because I did the same thing. So I say that to say that, you don't always have to, like, good God, like, say everything that's on your mind, like, especially with regards to it being a person that you, we say flippantly, oh, well, I don't have to be bothered with them. I'll never have to do this with you again or whatever. But do you really mean it? Because a lot of the time you don't. You still love the person. So like, get it together. Like, act like an adult. And but it made me think too of a time where I was trying to illustrate a point to my daughters when I only had 2 kids. And I could hear one of my teachers was like, don't call children kids. Kids are goats. Your child is not a goat. But anyway, so I remember one time, so they were in a stage of like a lot of bickering back and forth and hurting each other's feelings. And so I gave them each a picture of the other, just their face. And I said, all right, so for 1 week, we're going to do this exercise where you're going to, every time you say something mean or do something towards your sister, you're going to take a thumbtack and you're going to tack it in her face wherever, you want, just tack it on her face. And when you apologize, if you apologize, then you could take the tack out. But, that's how we're going to do for the week. So we did it for the whole week. And by the time the week was up, my older daughter, she made sure she did nothing to her sister at all. So her sister's face had nothing on it. It was regular picture. The other one, however, my middle girl, she had still carried on as usual. And so there were a bunch of like tacks and all that had been put in my oldest daughter's picture. And so by the end of the week, I said, all right, come here, let's look at this. And I said to my oldest, I said, so Jayla, you didn't have any tacks in Janae's picture. Why is that? And she said, because I didn't want to have to put anything in her face because I didn't like that. And I said, okay, so the same way you could control yourself this week, you can do that anytime. You can do that all the time. The same way if someone one of your friends outside this house says something to you and you hold your tongue and you deal with it in a different way that is not hurtful, you could do that with your sister too. And I was like, so don't think that just because you didn't put any tax up that you're off the hook, because this is a lesson for all of us, And so my other daughter, I said, now you have all these like holes in your sister's face. And I was like, do you see, you see what happened here? And she was like, yeah, I did a lot. And I was like, yeah. And I said, and I see that because you took the tax out, you apologized to her. So that's good. But what do you have left there? And she was like, all these holes. And I think she started to cry. I'm almost positive. They were both looking real crazy. And I was like, do you see? Like, you apologized for what you did, but it didn't just disappear. Those scars from what you said and what you did are still there in your sister. And I was like, it's not so easy to just, remove them with, oh, I'm sorry. It don't work like that, And so I was able to just teach them that. And it was good for all of us. But I swear, it's so frustrating at times to witness people like flying off the handle, saying all kinds of things that ultimately they don't mean. Their intention is not to be hurtful or harmful to the other person, is not to burn bridges, but they do just that because they lack self-control. And it's not easy. I ain't gonna sit here and lie and say it is, but you could do it. Like, try, I'm just annoyed just thinking about some people in my life who are like, said things back and forth. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Because I could say for these 2 people that I'm thinking of right now, neither is a person that you would really, like, I define like a toxic person is a person that continuously does things. And when you try to have a civil conversation with them, it's just not possible. They take no responsibility. They're like my mother. Like, there's nothing there that is like, oh, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't have done that. Let's not do that anymore. Like, there's not any of that there. So, and that's not the case for these two people, but yet they've, said things back and forth. And I'm like, I'm not like, gonna take sides and like, you're both off, because you could have handled this better, than you did. And I don't know. In this moment, I guess I'm just frustrated with the lack of maturity I see in adults. But I go back and forth to this thing of like, well, when it's not modeled for you, how do you know to do it? It wasn't modeled for me. In fact, not until now, it was not modeled for me. In my growing up, I had like, the adults around me. It's just you either like kept secret and talk behind backs, or like you do the whole fly off the handle, in a sudden moment, and say things that you don't mean, that you can't take back, but it's there forevermore. And like that, big elephant in the room and everybody's tiptoeing around it. Like, I remember when you said, but nobody will talk about it. We all gonna pretend like that wasn't said. Like, it's annoying. I remember growing up, another person that I used to be close to, we used to be so like, what is going on with the adults around us? Because we would see all this stuff and we were like, they supposed to be teaching us what's happening here. But yeah, so I guess this is a disgruntled video. I'm aiming to do better. I am doing better by my children. My children do see, like, they see, when I'm upset, but they see the way I handle things, and I don't just burn bridges. Even with this stuff with my mother, even with letting her know how I feel about some of the things that she did to me my entire life, not just my childhood. I didn't go like, oh, you be, and like, I didn't cuss, I didn't yell, I didn't demean, berate, belittle, none of that. None of it. And it's not because, it's just because, why? It's fruitless. It just makes no sense, and I got plenty to say. I got plenty that I could say, but for what? And to what end? To make her feel bad? I think she already feels bad, whether she'll admit that or not. I believe she has very little self-esteem, self-worth, all of that. She may think she do, but no. I see through all of that now. So what am I going to come along and beat her up more for? That just doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know. I just want to honor people, period. And, because if God saw fit to create you, then you must be like pretty amazing, So anyway, I have so much other things that I could say, but I'm not going to say, because again, I want to be mature. It's so annoying because frankly, I want to tell people off like some of y'all do. I do, but I'm not going to do it because I know how to act. It's some of the stories that I hear of how people behave and they think it's funny and they think it's cute. And it's like, you are so like abusive and they don't even see it. It's frustrating to be in a place of being more self-aware and learning how I behave and how I tend to like what my default behavior is or tends to be, and figuring out what I need to change and working on all that. And meanwhile, everybody else around you is just running rampant, doing stupid things and saying stupid things. And it's just like, so So that's my rant for today. Oh man. Yeah. You know what to do if you want to keep watching, hanging in there with me. I hope if you're watching this that you'll be real with yourself. Like forget like no, if you need to apologize to somebody, do it. Like gosh, just do it. You know, like I know some people right now watching me who have done things to their children and never apologize for it. Just like, oh, that didn't happen. We're going to pretend like that didn't happen. We're going to just move right along. You better believe your children still remember that. Your children are still talking about it because they talking about it to me. And I'm pissed, frankly, because like, hello, grow up, do what you need to do, make amends. That stuff don't just go away, you know? Oh, that. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to end the video because but yeah, so you know who you are, people. I don't even understand. It's so simple to just tell your child, you know what? When I did this, when I ignored you, when you told me this happened, and I just completely ignored you and didn't help you through that situation at all, or whatever the case may be, like, I'm sorry for that. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. That takes no skin off your back. I just don't get it unless you're disordered. Maybe, I mean, that's the only thing I could come up with, like why a person would just completely just dismiss. So again, I'll end the video here and say thank you for watching. Yeah. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.